Welcome to Geeks Corner. I'm Mr. DAPS.
I'm Katie.
Ernest Hemingway once survived 2 plane crashes in 2 days. After the second, he was assumed dead for 24 hours, until he emerged from the jungle carrying a bunch of bananas and a bottle of gin.
Wow.
No one knows where he got the gin.
Of course not.
And I'm Cameron.
Good. Welcome back, Cameron.
Yeah, you should use the hashtag Geeks Corner to talk to us about Ernest Hemingway or anything else.
Good job. I don't even know what happened there. And
I'm
really
stunned.
Why would you get on an airplane the day after? I don't know.
Yeah.
That kind of baffles me. It's like if I went down yesterday, I would not be getting back on the plane today.
It's Ernest Hemingway.
It's Ernest
True.
Hemingway.
He needs something to write about. Susan.
Hashtag It's Ernest Hemingway.
No.
Hashtag Geeks Corner.
Hashtag Geeks Corner.
Hashtag It's Ernest Hemingway.
On Twitter.
That is correct. How was everybody's weekend?
Very confused. Great.
Travel. I wanted to say
Everybody
travel
traveled
also.
this
Everybody
weekend.
traveled.
Everybody went north, I think.
Yes, we all were in
Some
Northern
of us
California.
went
Where the Eagles were.
different. Some of us used Eagles and some of us went by land.
2 by land, 1 by eagle.
You might actually know the answer to this, Cameron.
Yes,
In Lord of the Rings,
I've heard of it.
there's the Eagles question that was made fun of,
Mm-hmm.
but everybody's asked when we saw Fellowship the Musical. Do you know why they didn't just take the Eagles in the first place?
Yeah.
Please tell me.
They didn't take the Eagles because the Eagles were fighting their own war. At least that's the answer I've heard most often.
Where does that answer come from? Because I've read the books and I don't remember reading that. Is it from the Silmarillion?
It must be. I will admit I have not read it myself.
Which
but
I have
heard
read that
answer
also,
firsthand.
but I didn't make the connection.
But yes, and there are probably people in this room that know
Do you
this
know?
better than me. But
Is that why?
it is the war, right? What?
Well, the war, but also
It is the war.
the Eagles view the war the same way the Ents do.
So they want to be detached.
No one's on their side specifically, so they don't have a side of good versus evil. So,
Until the end.
until the very end, because then they realize that it's the entire Middle Earth.
So all of civilization's about to be wiped out, so then they're willing to hop in.
Right.
Okay.
Will fly.
Yeah.
It's not Banjo-Kazooie up in here.
They
they
that's all
actually
good.
can fly.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. That answers my question. Where did you find that answer?
It's
Like, where does the answer come from?
there's some notes from.
It's an appendix or something?
It's an appendix.
Okay, cool.
Dude
There we
had
go.
more appendixes than actual story.
Yeah, that's true.
I just didn't know where that came from, and I knew there had to be a reason. But
Appendices.
that's a very good question. Bailey would like us to note that the anniversary of Geeks Corner memes is this coming Friday, so that's always
Mazel
an
tov.
amazing thing and something that we look forward to a lot. And thank you, Tyler. Tyler's back, so who knows what's going to happen tonight.
Tyler.
I found the Eagles answer for you.
Oh, thank you. I
Okay.
see the link now.
It says Eagles answer.
Beautiful. I didn't realize that you... Okay.
I thought you were just adding to
Anyway,
the show
let's
order.
move over from Eagles to the Falcon, and specifically the Millennium Falcon.
Speaking of birds of prey.
That was good.
I didn't call your segue out because I wanted it to keep
Oh,
going.
I did because
I
the
was
bird-
so excited about it.
Hey, when you got one, you got one.
No, you're full of really good segues.
Anyway,
Woo.
Millennium Falcon is now available for all guests without reservations. They can just go into the land if it's not completely full. Otherwise, they need to use these wonderful virtual queue things, and or I guess they could get reservations for Ogas or a $200 lightsaber. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that would get you into the land also. But I think much to many people's surprise, the first day without reservations went incredibly smoothly.
Everything's okay.
Other than filling up the land right at the beginning, the rest of the day was perfect. And in fact, I would even say the beginning was perfect because you got that wonderful sense of excitement of, hey, we're going into this land the first day without reservations, and there's 3,000 or however many of my new best friends that are doing the same thing.
Our land.
And we're going to go in and join either the Resistance or the First Order, and
There's
hopefully...
another option.
Curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal.
You could also be a scoundrel.
Or you could be a scoundrel. Yes.
I was like,
I
first
had
of
that
all,
title before.
first of all,
There you go. But anyway, it went very smoothly yesterday, and then I snuck in today, and in an hour was able to
Kicked out.
basically... Yeah, it was amazing.
Second arrest.
they
Yeah.
said we don't want you sneaking around these parts. I don't know
Kylo
why they had
Ren
an
does
accent.
not have a sense of humor, it turns out.
Well, you shouldn't do your own theme music, man. Like,
Now that's something I want to see, though.
Are you saying that Mr. Daps is Kronk?
I think Cameron just pitched what his next Dapsies short film is going to be.
I
That'd be
appreciate
so good.
I appreciate that it's June and we're still talking about our Dapsy short films, which means that they are coming back next year.
Don't you think that needs
That
to
would
be
be
a
so
thing?
much fun.
That needs to happen.
Like subtle, like Disney-bound Kronk, and then walk around, and the stormtroopers come walking.
And they all just look at you like,
So Kronk would be part of the First Order, I feel like.
Unintentionally.
Yeah, like he didn't know.
He's inadvertent.
There was a guy out front who said I could join this thing.
He had a badge.
is it,
Cool helmet.
I'm sorry, is it Kronk? Or is this Jurassic Park?
Oh, well, I was trying to go for Patrick Wilbur, but it did go a little bit.
Maybe
like,
that's what the
indoctrinated
Dapsies
Kid.
needs to do next year. Is everybody
Oh,
has to.
I just referenced like 5 or 6
yeah,
things
we're
bad.
not gonna go there.
Oh, it hurts so much.
Wait, this year's Dapsies needs Jurassic Park?
No, needs somehow connected to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge.
Oh, I think dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. And Star
Dinosaurs
Wars.
and stormtroopers.
Dinosaurs and Star Wars.
Stormtrooper.
Dino Wars.
Dino Wars.
It's like Storage Wars.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to open up this Cretaceous period unit. We don't know what's inside.
So back to Galaxy's Edge, where I went today, and it really wasn't busy. It was a beautiful thing. Do you think, or when do you think it's going to get insanely busy? Is it going to be when all the passes are available into the parks, or when Rise of the Resistance opens? Like, what is your
Yes.
prediction? Because I am just baffled that it is still so comfortably quiet on Batu.
Do you mean, okay, well, the land? Or,
Yeah.
okay, because we saw the virtual queuing yesterday
Yep.
for the land,
It was great.
which means, in theory, that is what it's going to look like when passes open up. Because
Yeah, but it could be like Phantasmic or World of Color, where all the passes are gone by like 10 a.m.
yeah.
Or it could be one of those things like yesterday, where you can still get to the park at early afternoon and still get into Galaxy's Edge. Or it could be a third thing completely, where the first half of the day everybody's going after these things, and then they get tired, and by the evening you can get into the
But
land.
I don't think at any point, while you are on Batu, you will be suffering from crowds.
No, I
Because-
agree with that completely. But my question is the park, like, it's a bigger picture than just Batu. Like, when is the
whole
point
galaxy.
where you've got all of these people descending on Disneyland to get into Batu?
September.
Or is there at all?
I think it's going to be managed well. I think you're right in that it's the pass system they've set up has a natural fatigue for some people to be set in, especially those with families, with young kids. They can't maybe hold up. So I think it's been marshaled well. I look to Wizarding World as an example of how that guest flow is being handled. They did something very similar when they opened up, as far as people stationed at the gates, and they just did a line queue for when you could come in. But because they did that and there was that inherent built-in fatigue, the land never felt full, yet you still get an opportunity throughout the day to go in. So I think they'll handle it well.
And when do you think do you think the park is going to feel crowded or packed at some point as people try to get into this land? Or do you think it's just going to be a normal, hey, we're unblocked, we're all here?
I think the latter. Yeah.
So you don't think there's going to be a sudden influx of... My one guess is when we might see it get kind of busy is the D23 weekend.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you're going to have all these people come in from around the country, potentially around the world, that are going to want their Disney fix because they've already flown all the way to Anaheim. And so I could see that weekend being a little bit insane. On the flip side, you might have a bunch of Florida people like, I'm going to the one next week in Florida,
Yep.
which I actually think will probably be way busier than this one. But
And we've
who
already
knows, maybe not.
seen a lot of Floridians come here.
Yeah.
And we've seen a ton. Like, I see all the time, I'm like, don't you live in Florida? People that are here because they wanted to see it first here. And
I'd
I've
say, but honestly, if it opened in Florida first, I probably would have gone out there.
But I've seen them not one time, not two times. I've seen them go multiple times.
Yeah.
And so I think that when Galaxy's Edge opens at Hollywood Studios, I think that we're going to see a lot less people in ours.
Mm-hmm. That's reasonable.
But we're also assuming getting a second attraction maybe around that time, or maybe a month or so after.
And I have no clue what to expect.
And so it's like, yeah, another one's going to open, but then if we get a second attraction, what's going to happen?
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
I don't know.
It's a really weird place to be in, because over the last however many years I've had it pass, there's always been certain like trends and indicators. You're like, this happens, so guests are going to do that, and this is basically doing the exact opposite. And it's been a very interesting thing to watch, and it'll be interesting to see what happens as the summer ends and the SoCal passes, and everybody is open up to come into the park.
The other thing that I'm worried about, adding on to what I just said, to go back on my words, is that I'm worried that the Floridians that were out for the opening they're going to get theirs, but then come back again for the new things that we get. So I don't...
For Rise of the Resistance. And
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Quick stop back by home, feed their gators and spaceships, and come on back.
Their gators and their spaceships.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm just so... And everything that's happened so far has completely been the opposite of what we have expected. So honestly, at this point, I don't know. I have no idea. But yeah. Yeah, that's the long story short. Only the ancients know.
Mike says, I think that maybe the casual visitor may wait to August for the opening of Rise of the Resistance for Star Wars Galaxy's Edge to truly be busy. And it's really, we're talking about is the park trying to get into Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, because they're doing a fantastic job managing it. And the one thing I would say is for all of the I don't know if it's the armchair quarterbacking of how Disney has been opening attractions in the last year or two. You look at what they did with Pixar Pier, and at the time it was like, oh, you couldn't finish the project in time, which is very possible, but it set a wonderful precedent for what we're seeing now in Galaxy's Edge. And it's, if they hadn't had Pixar Pier open in phases like it is, can you imagine the uproar we would be having right now for Rise of the Resistance not opening with the land? Whereas right now, I actually think it's kind of a blessing for us that it's not open, and it gives us something more to look forward to. And honestly, if I were Disney, I would push it back as far as I could, because you're getting that much more energy and reasons to come into the land.
And you bring up a good point. It's not just theme parks that are taking this model. This has also, in the last few years, become the video game model with DLC.
Yep, totally.
They are learning how to, rather than that one big punch release, they are learning how to kind of disperse it a little bit so that they're hitting multiple peaks on the way down. I mean, it's from a business standpoint, that sounds like a wonderful choice. You get more publicity as more things open up. You get repeat customers that are interested in seeing the thing first just because it's the first one to be there.
And if I were in Florida, I would push it out till next year if I could for Rise of the Resistance. Just because I think it would probably double up on that, and you get those once a year people would have even more of a chance or reason to come back.
Could you imagine what would happen at Hollywood Studios if Runaway Railway and Rise of the Resistance opened at the same time?
It might be perfect.
It's kind of hilarious.
Yeah,
to
but
imagine.
it might actually be perfect. Who knows? All right, let's move on. We mentioned briefly D23 Expo. It's coming in August. And with the D23 Expo, we won't be the only ones there, but the Simpsons will be as well.
It's just us and the Simpsons.
That's
In a
all
room,
it is.
one back, one may leave.
So first off, were you surprised by this announcement? Not necessarily as in, I don't think it's inappropriate in any way and it makes sense, but it wasn't on my radar at all.
No.
Like when you were thinking about D23 last week, were you thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to go see The Simpsons?
No.
Were you?
I won't say I specifically had the thought,
That's,
but it does not surprise me.
I thought we were going to get newer Fox properties. I was surprised that this is a legacy Fox property in many respects, but I didn't anticipate this one, I guess.
I'm betting they're going to Star Wars the heck out of it. I mean, when they acquired Star Wars, when they
You might
acquired
as well.
Marvel, when they acquired all, it's the same thing where, like, we got a new shiny thing that's actually a very old thing you already have a lot of nostalgia attached to. Here's what we're going to do with it now.
And people love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think there's any problem with bringing them to the D23 Expo? I personally don't, but
I don't see a problem at all.
are you going to want to go to that panel?
I don't know.
I wouldn't. I would simply because the voice.
There is some amazing talent.
That's what
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
So it's the same thing as like, even though I am a diehard Disney fan, if I got the opportunity to meet Mel Blanc, I would drop everything to do
absolutely.
it. Like it's exactly that. Like the 6 people that have been running 300 people through The Simpsons for how many years? I'm Mac running alone. Just
It's
insane. And I would love to see that. I would love to be able to experience the nostalgia meets whatever Disney's going to do with it next feeling it's going to be in that realm.
Can you imagine the amount of laughter that's... there's a chemistry in that
definitely.
cast. And just putting them all on a panel, and who knows what's going to happen.
I was actually watching something with one of the voices from The Simpsons. It was kind of like a goes through his iconic characters type thing. And he said that at one point, there was a character for the first 3 or so seasons that had voiced a character, and they just replaced him with this guy. And he was like, "Oh, I'm doing this entirely different thing." They said, "Oh, yeah, he wasn't nice. We didn't like him." So it's all if you don't work well with us.
Yeah.
So I'd imagine that if you get the cast of the Simpsons together, they're having a great time, and I'm sure it's going to be a ton of fun.
I agree.
They have straight up killed characters on the show because they no longer wanted to work with those voice actors. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
I like that way of
And
working.
speaking of death,
Are we getting written off the show?
yes,
I think
absolutely.
we're getting written off the show.
It's
You didn't
brutal.
know this, but Geeks Corner is scripted.
Hi,
This moment right here, it was actually on this page.
my
There's
name
a
is
big
Abernathy Jones.
teleprompter right
I'm
there.
the voice actor that's been playing Cameron for 6 years. This is all
The
animation.
social media, a front.
Yes. Speaking of death,
What?
this is something that I think is very important to point out. That there's a minor uproar from people who are complaining about the non-Disney nature of the Simpsons brand being involved. And it's not much, unfortunately. A lot of people are getting it. However,
I actually expected more than there is.
Same. But the people who are complaining, I encourage them to look back at the Disney canon and compare the edginess of the Simpsons to some of the things that Disney has done over its own
Can we
history.
just go... I think you can end it with Disney's first animated feature, Snow White.
Yep.
Done.
Yep.
Case closed.
Case open?
They're fine. It's good.
What
Everything's
was
good.
the box for, people?
Queso con queso.
What was the box for? The Queen's box that she gives the
For
huntsman?
cutting out a heart and putting
Cutting
it in
out
it?
a heart
Yeah.
and putting it...
It's
Not
brutal.
just cutting out any heart. Your stepdaughter's heart. All right. We will keep moving on from there.
Spoilers.
You didn't know that?
No, she said so.
Oh,
She
she
said,
doesn't
"What's
have,
the issue
she
with
doesn't
that?"
have a problem with that. All right, moving over to Disneyland. Main Street Cinema has lost its merchandise. It is no longer a store. It was one of what we assume will be multiple attempts to get more people to go into Main Street Cinema. And really, I think this is the future of Disney. If there's not people in an area, they're going to try to get people in said area because then they can get more people in the park. And Cameron had an interesting perspective he brought up on this to me last week, and I'm going to let you take it from there.
What if bees had French accents?
So the Bee movie, but in French.
Oh.
Or just the overdub
So,
version.
you like
Subs,
that?
not tubs.
Anyway, Main Street Cinema, go.
So, friends, here's a very important caveat for the beginning of this discussion.
Caveat away.
I agree that it was a poor decision for merchandise to be inside of the cinema. Let me start with that. I actually agree with that.
Thank you for starting with
He's
that.
doing this. That's how you know he's serious.
The reactionary nature of people complaining about things influencing large creative corporations is a very bad thing. Very, very bad. When the populace at large does not give creatives room to create or to explore their venues or their space or anything involved with them providing something new to the consumer, by just reacting to it, we don't get new things. This is bad. This is very, very bad.
Can you say it like Sala?
Very bad.
Thank you.
So it's the problem isn't speaking out against what you don't like. That I would not have a platform or any articles if I couldn't speak out against things I didn't like. The problem is if you have a snap judgment against of something that is different than what you come to expect, it trains large corporations like Disney to never try anything new or surprising or innovative. And if that happens too much, we don't get things like Galaxy's Edge. We don't get interesting aspects of Marvel Land. We're just going to get prepackaged things that they know you've accepted in the past. and that leads to nothing fun.
And you get
eventually
more
dies.
stuff from other parks, and
Yeah, it's
yeah, I agree.
While there is a point to be said for disagreeing with things and making that known, if it's less than 24 hours after something has changed and you cause them to change back their decision as a reactionary defense mechanism, that's a bad place to be, both as consumers and for a corporation.
Well, I think it's okay to give your displeasure in a civil and well thought out way, but the whole like Disney's ruining everything and making it into a personal attack. At the end of the day, I have never met anybody that works for Disney that's like, hey, I'm gonna go ruin Disney today. Like, that's not why they work there. Like, I'm
gonna ruin that family's day. It's gonna be great.
That's why I work at Disneyland. No, that's not how it works. They're all there because at some level they believe in what Walt Disney started, and maybe it's a different belief at a different part of what Walt created. You know, there are different passion points, and that should be celebrated. Does that mean we're all going to like them and agree with them? Absolutely not. And I think this is where it comes down to, you have two very strong mechanisms when you don't like something at Disney. The first is you go very civilly and very politely say, hey, I don't like this, or hey, this concerns me at City Hall, or you write it in on Disneyland.com or WaltDisneyWorld.com, whatever it is. And you do it in a way that's very respectful and decent. And that's, every time I've done that, I've gotten really positive responses. And quite often it's led to change. The other thing you can do is you can take this thing that I have in my back pocket, which is called a wallet, and go spend it somewhere else. And that honestly is going to be the biggest way to make things happen and to change. Because when you're walking out, you see these people with the little notepads that we see people avoid all the time. And frankly, getting your email into that little notepad or iPad, whatever they are, is a great thing, because they're going to send you questions and they're going to ask for your opinions, and you get to share your opinions. And Disney does a lot based off of market research like that. And both
they're the leaders in market research, actually.
Right.
As a corporation in general, they listen to people more than any other corporation
and then
in
they
the world.
teach other corporations how to do this. And so really, when you see these things that you don't like, it probably means that somebody else had a different opinion than you and shared it with Disney, whereas maybe you walked the other way when the person said, hey, can I have a minute of your time? And we're all guilty of this. Like, there's always that time where you're like, I'm just trying to get dinner. Like, I'm just hungry.
When we're hungry,
it's hard to...
We can't ask each other questions.
Yeah. Is that the royal way, or...
But
yeah, when the royal we is hungry. When we are hungry.
When you have a group of people at Disneyland and 80% or more of them are hungry, you do not stop for anything.
For 80% of the group.
I'm always 80% of the group. If Katie's hungry, just get food. Just go.
But anyway, all that to say, a store in Main Street Cinema, bad idea. But also reacting in a very, I don't know if antagonistic.
Yeah, that's a good word for it.
Antagonistic way. Whether it's name calling or it's just
accusatory
not
behavior.
Accusatory behavior. Great word. That's not a good thing either. And I actually think both of them don't work so well.
You brought up a really, really good point that I do want to touch on.
Okay, and then we're gonna move on.
Yes. So you mentioned the dollar voting thing, and this is something to really think about. If
good job.
We had a reactionary thing that closed down the store in about 24, 48 hours.
Yeah.
I guarantee they're going to be trying something new in that same location probably within a couple of months.
They already are.
Yeah.
So they had today, maybe it was yesterday, it now appears on the Disneyland app as an attraction with 0 wait time.
Yes.
And they have new benches in there too.
So it's changing the nature of it and maybe leading to something that's even less beneficial than originally wanted. Now, if instead of reacting like that, the public at large had decided, we don't want this in here, so let's not support it financially, I guarantee if Disney was making only 10 to 20% of sales goals for whatever they had set for that store...
I think that happened also.
In a week or two, if they'd left it up and that happened, they would have removed it and probably left it exactly the way it was.
I observed it for just a few minutes the day it opened, maybe 10 minutes or so, and I didn't see a single person buy anything.
And if we had just voted for that with our money rather than our mouths, it would have changed it back rather than encouraging a different approach. And if you truly wanted to be left the way it was, easier way would have just been.
And I see both Stephen and Mike are saying basically the same thing, that
yes.
Vote with your dollar by not paying there as well. And I think that probably also indicated or helped influence the decision for Disney. All right, very quickly, Disney Pixar's new film Soul is going to be hitting theaters next summer. I'm actually really excited about this. I'm going to read the description really quick, and it says, "Ever wonder where your passion, your dreams, and your interests come from? What is it that makes you, you?" In 2020, Pixar Animation Studios takes you on a journey from the streets of New York City to the cosmic realms to discover the answers to life's most important questions. Soul is directed by two-time Academy Award winner Pete Docter and produced by Academy Award nominee Dana Murray. And
That's Pal, right?
Lou.
No.
Lou.
Lou.
And to me, the concept coupled with the director, I think this is going to be potentially one of my favorite Pixar films. And this without knowing anything else about this, that's my prediction.
With Pete Docter behind it, I'm incredibly excited.
And I just like the idea of going from New York to cosmic realms to discover what makes you you.
Yeah.
Like, it's weird enough that I'm like, okay, sign me up. What do you think, Cameron?
So, this is the same compliment I can give to Lin-Manuel Miranda,
Yep.
which is the most pretentious thing you can do as a writer is to write yourself into your work. He's the rare exception that can pull that off.
Yep.
Pixar does what every terrible artist does, which is talk about the things immediately present to them. Emotions, or their soul, or these things that are like right here tangibly. It's like
Toys.
It's like the first bad thing a writer can do is to try to
Do the first idea you have.
yeah, just explain this like lofty concept of something that everyone can experience, but is ethereal and usually done very poorly. Pixar gets a pass because they're the only ones that can pull it off really well, and
they consistently do.
And that the specific example I'm looking at is name Emotions.
Inside Out.
Thank you very much. They did conceptually Emotions in a visually interesting and narratively
Which was
fantastic
also Pete
way.
Docter and
Yeah, exactly. So for the very, very difficult concept of a soul,
I'm all on board.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I think we're all excited about this. Comes out June 19th, 2020.
Woo!
And finally, this Friday on the 28th of June in 2019, Avengers Endgame Bring Back event starts, which means that you get to watch 3 hours of Marvel awesomeness again.
Marvel awesomeness.
Yes, Marvelocity. See a sneak peek of Spiderman Far From Home. I think you get an introduction. Is it by Joe?
Yeah, it was an intro by one of the
Joe Russo?
brothers, I believe, yeah.
Do you remember Tyler?
By Joe Rohde.
Sure.
Oh.
That was, it's one of the Russo brothers.
I
don't
would
remember
watch
which one.
that. No heart.
Joe Rohde goes, hey,
Anthony. Anthony Russo is going to do an
making
introduction,
what you
and
think
there's going to be an unfinished, deleted scene from the film that's
yes.
shown. Is this just a money grab, or is this something that people actually want?
Yes.
Both.
I agree.
I also love the idea. I don't know why in my brain. I think it's probably because we were talking about Pixar, but you said an unfinished deleted scene, and I pictured it as a like Pixar unrendered, not animated. But then I was like, oh, these are real people.
Oh yeah, right. I forgot.
But imagine like sketches and like voices, but just rough sketches. Then I was like, oh wait, these are humans.
I just want the 30
I
outtakes of them
actually-
blowing a taco
Unless
on Paul
they have
Rudd's
some
hand.
Hulk scene.
Yeah.
Hulk scene would be hilarious.
And then one with Scott just like crying over his taco. Aww.
All right, so we all know this is probably about, no, it's really about getting Avengers Endgame over the mark that Avatar currently has. Will it do it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's going to happen.
How
One
long?
way or another.
1 weekend or 2?
I'm gonna find you.
It'll take two.
You think
I'm
it'll take
thinking
two?
two.
Okay.
2.
I think you're probably right as well.
Yeah. But they go and do it.
It'll probably happen sometime during the 4th of July weekend because people go see movies, and this is a very good 4th of July.
And then
Oh, it's
Disney going to
hot.
take out that big peacock feather and put it in their hat.
And then
Roll.
Disney's gonna go, we got a Pandora and we got a Marvel superhero campus. We win.
We
All
have a
right.
Hulk.
That is correct. So let us know what you think about this in the comments, and we will continue to report on this story when it passes Avatar.
When it comes to pass.
When it comes to pass. All right, Cameron.
You should go to thegeekscorner.com. That is thegeekscorner.com. Learn all of the most interesting things about us talking because we find ourselves interesting and talk a lot.
should go to dapsmagic.com, check out all the Disney and geek news as it happens, subscribe to our mailing list, and find our Patreon.
And make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel. We've got lots of content going on this summer. We got Star Wars Galaxy's Edge stuff. We've got college band stuff. We'll have D23 coverage later in the summer. You won't want to miss any of it. Yep, that's coming up very soon as well. Don't miss any of it, but that is all the time we have for you tonight, so we will see you around the corner.
Bye!